Yo guys, it's Ebo. So today I'm going to be doing a video on my drift sim and my new drift sim. And it's actually kind of a funny story how I came across this thing. Ask the cat. He knows. What's up, kitty? So I do plumbing. I install water softeners. And the other day I was at install at this guy's house. And he had a couple computers sitting on the ground. So I was like, hey, I see you got some computers there. Do you build computers as a hobby? You know, just talking to the customer, being friendly. And he's like, yeah, I actually build racing simulators. And of course I was like, what? So he's talking about all these crazy sims he's built, and he rolled this one out while I was cutting some pipe. And he was talking about, you know, how he built this one out of the 8020. You know, had a lot of fun doing it. And I was like, dang, that's pretty cool. And I was like, how much would it cost for you to build me one of these? I was like, I really want to get one like that. And he was like, oh, I don't know, it'd probably be pretty expensive, but I'd sell you this one. I haven't used it in a couple of years. Apparently he built it while his kids were, you know, getting into kart racing and stuff like that. So he said he'd sell me the frame, that seat, and these pedals for $400. So I was like, heck yeah. So I finished up my day, did my other jobs, and then I drove back to his house after work with my car, picked it up, and now I have it. So this thing has some FREX pedals. So it's basically like custom-made pedals from what I believe. I've done a little bit of research on them. And the clutch pedal has these two springs here. It's pretty sweet. I like it. I like the way it feels. The brake pedal has these rubber stoppers on it. And then the gas pedal just has this spring here. When I connected these to my wheel, the clutch didn't work because the clutch is a separate connector. But the brake only went from like here to here, and that was like full brake force. And then the gas, it seemed like from here to like there is kind of empty, is like dead. So I gotta see if I can adjust these somehow. And then the clutch, I mean, it's just basically in and out, you know. Clutch doesn't really matter too much. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna rewire these so I can use them with my Logitech wheel. Because I don't plan on, you know, changing my wheel at all anytime soon, and the clutch is wired separate on this one. So basically all I have to do is rewire the potentiometer, or the wires to these potentiometers. They're the same, or they're rated as the same. They're both 10K potentiometers. So it should be fairly easy, everything should work. I already know these potentiometers work with the wheel because I tested it out. Of course, I didn't test out the clutch pedal because it's not connected. I'm not sure what kind of connection this is, but I'm just gonna rewire it with the wiring from this. And I also plan on doing the inverted pedal mod, and then I'm just gonna take my mount here and then put it on this one probably. I might need to make it a little taller though, because it looks like these pedal boxes are quite a bit larger. But I guess I'll take that apart and see how it works. But then this thing is fully adjustable, so like I can change to the angle of this with this lever. I can change how far the pedals are back and forth with that knob there. I can change how far back the seat is with this knob here. And that like you can change how far this comes out with, actually that's this knob. And then when that's loosened you can change the angle, but it's really sweet. You can loosen these up and then change the angle even more. It's really cool. It's a really cool setup. I really like it. I just have to transfer everything over. So if I can move my cat here, come here, buddy. We'll kind of take a look at these pedals here. So yeah, the gas feels pretty good. I mean, it feels pretty close to what my gas pedal feels like in real life. Of course, it's, you know, upside down. And the brake is really nice, but I wish that it had more, I don't know, I wish the sensor went further, which I might be able to adjust it. I don't know. I tried to look up these pedals. They're FREX pedals, and I can't figure out which ones these actually are. But then the clutch pedal feels really good. I really like the way this feels. It's super, I like how short it is. It just feels really good. But yeah, I'm gonna see, there's all these little components in here, so I'm gonna try and adjust things and see if I can make the play a little longer. Meaning you have to push the brake further in order to turn that gear or that knob, which it looks like I should be able to if I move that piece down. So I'm gonna take a look at that because it would be nice to have a little bit more pedal movement. That's one of the reasons I don't really like the Logitech pedals, is because the movement is so short. So I'm gonna see if I can play with that and take the pedal boxes apart and then see if I can adjust that and make it a little bit better. So I got the gas pedal apart here to kind of show how this thing works. So over here we have the potentiometer. So basically on this side here, there's these two stoppers that stop the pedal from going forward and back. And what happens is you press down the pedal, the potentiometer moves, and that's how you get your basically feedback in the game. So the gas pedal is already, maxed out for how much it can move here. So this one I'm going to leave, and this spring just goes to out here. It's just connected with one of these guys, and then it sits on this dowel that slides through like that. So that keeps the potentiometer back, and then this spring over here sits on the piece back here, and that keeps the gas pedal, forward. And then on the back here we have this little dowel. This is your spring that gives your, the pedal feel. So it's got these two washers, and for the brake it's got this piece that sits on there, and then it has a little spring on top, and for the clutch pedal it's just got this pretty stiff spring that goes on there. So the gas pedal is good. I think I'm going to leave it like this. I like the way it feels. I might adjust this, but I can adjust that easily while the pedals are back together. So I'm going to slap this back together, just slap this piece back on like so, and then work on the brake pedal. So this is all I did. So this little brass knob here was up here, so I just actually loosened it with a little pair of pliers. And then this spring just sits on here like this. Let's see if I can get this back on camera. Might be a little difficult. It's gotta go this way, like that. And then this piece just snaps over like so. And since this piece is further down on this piece here, it's going to give it more throw. So now you have to press the brake further in order to get more brake like in the game. And I also noticed that this rod is bent. I don't know if it's supposed to be like that or if it's not supposed to be like that, but I don't have anything to replace that, so I'm going to have to keep it like that. But yeah, this should give me a little bit more brake pedal travel, so that should be awesome. So now I'm going to throw this back together and then move on to the clutch pedal. So the clutch pedal assembly is actually kind of bolted together up here, so I'm not actually going to take the side off. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to move this one, and I think I'm going to move it down just that one notch there, because it doesn't need a whole lot of throw, because like in my FRS the clutch throw isn't very long, but I feel like if it was the same throw as a brake pedal was, it would feel almost perfect. So I'm going to just move that one notch down. So it's right here. I'm going to move it into that threaded hole there, and then we'll see how that feels. So I have my fiance holding the phone so I can get a better angle of this thing. But with this screw turned in, the pedal would only move this far. So what I did is I took my screwdriver and just loosened this guy up a bit. I'm actually going to tighten it just a hair more. So now when I push the pedal, it's going to go back a little bit further, and that's going to give us a larger reading on that potentiometer. And of course right now it's not going to be pushed back because that second spring isn't in here, but I just got to get that back in. And now I just have to put the pedals in the flipped orientation like this in the right direction. So I need to do the clutch, brake, and gas rather than having the clutch, brake, rather than having the clutch, brake, and gas, I need to do the clutch, brake, and gas like it would be in a normal car. So with some help from my cat, I'm starting the reassembly. So what it is, I took this thing, screwed the nut on the side, slid it through, put the spacer in, slid it through, put the spacer in, slid it through, put the spacer in, and then put the nut on the end. And this is going to be the one on the front of the pedals, I guess I could call this, that doesn't have the spring for the potentiometer. So now I'm going to do the one that does have the spring, and then I just have to slide these little plastic clips onto the springs and then slide those onto the little spacer that goes in between. And then I just have to do the exact same thing on the back side with the springs for the pedals themselves. So I got these all back together now, and I've got the springs adjusted. So we got the gas pedal, brake pedal, clutch pedal. I'd show how they move and everything, but it'd be a little difficult to do while trying to hold the camera and hold the base. But one thing I noticed is that this thing came with some little inserts here, and these are actually the same thread as the ones that I'm using to hold my pedals onto there. So I should be able to just mount these right onto there without any issues, hopefully. The part that's going to be fun is rewiring these pedals. So these pedals were on a Logitech steering wheel that didn't need a clutch. So basically right now there's as if there's no clutch on here. So what I have to do is I have to rewire these potentiometers to that wiring harness, I guess you could call it, because this one has a separate plug here. And basically how these works is with the potentiometer, there's a ground, there's an input, and there's an output. And it's basically a dimmer switch. So the further you push it, the more resistance goes through the wire here, and that's what you get your load, or how you get your load. So all I have to do is just splice these wires into the correct wires for that. So I just have to write down which colored wires for the clutch, which one's for the brake, which one's for the gas, which it doesn't matter a whole lot because I can remap things in games, but some games I can't. So I just have to write down which pedal has which color, and the only one that's going to be different is going to be the output. All the inputs and the grounds are all going to be the same, so it just matters with the output, and then that's it. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these, I'm going to tie all the grounds together. I'm just going to twist them just for testing purposes. Tie all the 12 volts together, which is going to be the red. And then I'm going to tie the signal wires together. So the green, the white, and the orange. And I'm just going to plug everything together and then make sure it works. Make sure as I turn the potentiometer, I get, a signal for each pedal. Because when I had them together before, I think like the gas pedal was reading as the clutch, and that worked, but none of the other pedals worked. So I'm gonna see if this will work correctly now. Alright guys, so I was having a little bit of issue. I had it all wired up, though it was supposed to be all the reds to red, all the blacks to blacks, signal wires correct, and my wheel wouldn't power on. So I was getting real concerned real quick because I thought I blew something up, and I was out all the money that I've ever put into my Logitech wheel, which isn't a whole lot. It's probably like, I don't know, $600, but still, it's enough money. But as you can see, I have it working. So if I turn the brake potentiometer and if I turn the gas potentiometer, this is kind of finicky because the grounds are kind of loose. I have to pinch the grounds, but it does work. And then the clutch is actually backwards, because I just cut this when I took it out of the FREX pedals, and it's actually wired different. Or not wired different, but the colors are different. The red is the signal wire on here, and the green is actually the positive wire. So I think what I'm going to do is, as long as I have another piece of white heat shrink, which it looks like I do, I'm going to actually, where to go here? Cut this and then rewire it so it's the actual, so it's the proper color basically. So I'm just going to cut the wires, slide the heat shrink off, and fix that. Alright guys, so I got everything figured out. So what was happening is my clutch pedal here, the wires are different, and with this heat shrink on here I couldn't tell which wires were which. I just assumed, which was a dumb idea. So you can see you get the ground is black, the signal wire is red, and the power wire is green. Or actually, no, that's not even the case. This should be red, that should be black, and the signal wire should be green. So it's all sorts of screwed up. I'm not going to take it apart though, I'm just going to switch the wires. I just have to be smart about how I do it. So I have everything connected here, everything works. I'm going to turn the clutch. It's going to be inverted, but I can switch that when I solder it all together. And then now I'm going to turn the brake potentiometer. We're good there. And then now I'll turn the gas, and we are good. So now that I know that everything is working correctly, I just have to take this apart to switch the wires for the clutch. But then once that's all done, I just have to solder everything together and we're good to go. So I have everything soldered together here and heat shrinked, and everything is still working correctly. So alright guys, it's a new day, and I got done with work a little bit early today, so I'm going to be working on my pedal mounts here. So right now I have this thing just mounted to a plate, and it's mounted to these brackets, and it's pretty sturdy, but I want something on the top and something on the bottom. So I went to the hardware store and I got this piece of aluminum here. I'm going to put it this way, and the pedals are going to mount like this. I'm just going to put a couple of washers or nuts for a spacer there, and then I'm going to cut it to the length of this. I'm actually going to cut 2 of them, drill a hole on each side for the for it to mount to this piece, and then I'm going to drill holes so that I can have more than just 2 bolts holding this thing together. So I'm going to get this measured and then get 2 pieces cut. Alright, so I've got these pieces cut. I have one a little bit shorter than the other, and that's just because I noticed that at the bottom it seems to be a little bit narrower. I think that's just because of how it clamps. So I made one a little bit shorter to match, and now what I have to do is I just have to mark where the bolt is going to go, and I just have to drill it on both sides, on the top and the bottom, and when that's done I just have to mark where the bolts are going to be over here, and then should be good to mount everything up. Alright guys, so I got all the holes drilled here. So I've got these holes here for mounting to the base there. Some of the holes didn't turn out perfect, so I kind of had to ream them out a little bit. But then I have these 8 holes. Those are going to be for mounting the pedals to the aluminum itself. And then I actually put these here so that I can zip tie the wire and keep it in place. So now I just have to mount everything up, put the wire up, and then kind of put the finishing touches on the wire. And then I think what I'm going to do for this piece is I'm either going to use it to hold that piece and that piece together, because I noticed yesterday when I was kind of ripping it around a little bit, the whole thing will kind of flex. And I'd much rather, have it not flex and not be easily adjustable than have it flex and be easily adjustable. Or I was thinking about putting the wheel to this, because I also noticed that my wheel kind of moved a bit, so I'm thinking about using it like this, mounting this piece to the top here, and then putting a bolt through on the bottom going into the wheel just to keep it sturdy, because I actually have 2 more of these coming to my house. I ordered 2 more for anything that I need, because those pieces are like perfect. So I got this guy all mounted up, got the 2 bolts here. Then I've got 4 in here. I got 1 here, 1 here, 1 here, and 1 here. This aluminum works pretty well. It is a little bit tangible, so it does move a little bit, but honestly, it's not too bad. And I also switched the angle of this bar. It used to be coming down like this. I switched it to go down like this so I can get this a little bit lower, because I didn't like having the steering wheel super high up. I like it like this because this is pretty much where it's at in my car, in both my Legacy and the FRS. So I'll keep it at that. But I think this is going to be the end of the video because I have to wait for that shifter bracket. I kind of mocked up some kind of ghetto shifter bracket that's all freaking floppy, and it doesn't really work, but it works good enough until I get that. So yeah, that's going to be the end of this one. I've made a lot of progress with this so far. Even just getting the pedals wired up. I like how clean they look. They've got the heat shrink on there so I can tell which one is which if I ever decide to take them apart. So yeah, it worked out pretty well. Hope you liked. Leave a like if you liked it. Subscribe if you want to see more, and I will see you in the next one.